Hey guys, this is Ray with PhoneArena doing a video comparison between the Samsung Galaxy Nexus and the iPhone 4S. Of course, both of these handsets are very different from each other. Both have completely different design philosophies and software that has nothing in common really. But we know that there are many users out there wondering which one to get, which one is better, the Nexus or the iPhone 4S. So we'll try to answer all of these questions in our comparison now. Of course, you know that it all depends on one's personal preferences. But anyway, let's start by examining the design of these two contenders. Right from the start, it's evident that both handsets are complete opposites when it comes to both the appearance and the build quality. First of all, the Nexus, the Galaxy Nexus, is entirely made of plastic. As you know, this is a typical approach by Samsung, entirely made of plastic, which makes the handset relatively lightweight, but it also doesn't feel very premium in the hand as it should, because it's a high-end premium phone. On the other hand, the iPhone 4S is still one of the best phones in terms of both appearance and build quality. It's made entirely out of glass on the front and back and steel. So it's one very premium feeling phone. It's very classy. And so in terms of build quality, it's obvious that we really prefer the iPhone 4S, but we really love to see some ice cream sandwich phones made with more eye-catchy design and higher quality materials. Both handsets have completely different displays as well, whereas the Galaxy Nexus uses the HD Super AMOLED technology, so it has an AMOLED-based display. The iPhone 4S sticks with the traditional LCD technology, although in its more advanced IPS form. Being an IPS LCD, the screen of the iPhone 4S again manages to deliver some nicely saturated colors with good contrast levels and viewing angles. The same goes for the Galaxy Nexus as well, although at an even greater extent. It has even greater saturation and even deeper contrast levels. Now, the screen resolution is an interesting aspect of these screens because the Nexus has the HD resolution at 720 by 1280 pixels, whereas the iPhone 4S has 640 pixels by 960 pixels. But even though the Nexus packs more pixels in its display, it doesn't mean that it has the better screen quality, because it's actually the opposite. The iPhone 4S, due to its smaller screen size of 3.5 inches, manages to retain a higher pixel density overall at 326, whereas the Galaxy Nexus has a slightly lower PPI of 316. But overall, both handsets have extremely clear displays with very crisp and clear images, so the difference is really not that significant. The fundamental differences continue with the interfaces and the software installed on both devices. Of course, these handsets run the rivaling operating system Android for Ice Cream Sandwich on the Samsung Galaxy Nexus and iOS 5 on the iPhone 4S. Right from the start, some differences are pretty obvious. You see the live wallpaper on the Galaxy Nexus, which makes things a bit more dynamic, and there are also all kinds of these nice 3D transitions here, these 3D effects, which are here just to make our experience a bit more livelier and pleasant. And this, as you can see, sometimes translates into slowdowns like the one that we saw right now with the Galaxy Nexus. On the other hand, with the iPhone 4S, we have a much more static experience. We have our well-known app icons, which are static. They do not do anything, do not present any kind of live updates. On top of these, there are no widgets, but you can be sure that there will never be slowdowns like the one that we saw right now with the Galaxy Nexus. With Ice Cream Sandwich, Android has become almost as easy to get used to as iOS. However, for the time being, iOS is still the more straightforward platform. It has almost no learning curve, whereas with Ice Cream Sandwich you still have to spend a few minutes, probably 1 or 2 hours, in order to completely get yourself comfortable with the platform. On the other hand, there are some usability differences which make us prefer the Galaxy Nexus in some respects, and here we're talking about the settings for applications, for example, because you know that with the iPhone 4S no application has its more advanced settings present within the app itself. You always have to quit the app and open the settings application, and this is where you get to tweak the settings for each separate app on the device. Whereas with the Galaxy Nexus and Ice Cream Sandwich, even more advanced settings of applications are found directly within the app itself, which makes our experience a bit faster and more comfortable. We won't go into details about each and every app on these phones. It's safe to say that both of these must-have functionalities like threaded messaging, for example. And let's check out the on-screen QWERTY keyboards real quick here. Both of these are very well made. We'll say that writing in portrait mode is equally good on both devices, although we actually prefer the Nexus when it comes to typing with the landscape QWERTY keyboards of the devices. You can see right now that the accelerometer on the Galaxy Nexus is a bit slower to react compared to the iPhone 4S, but due to the larger screen size of the Nexus of 4.65 inches, the keyboard is just significantly bigger, and it also offers haptic feedback through vibration, so typing on the landscape option on the Nexus is actually a bit better compared to what we have on the iPhone 4S. In terms of browsing experience, these two are pretty close. The iPhone 4S is slightly smoother with its operation when it comes to scrolling, pinch zooming, and a bit better when it comes to double tap zooming. However, the Nexus is not that far behind. It's still very smooth, very reliable in terms of pinch zooming. It gives you nice control over your gestures with the browser, and it also does satisfying double tap zooming functionality. However, at this time both handsets lack the Adobe Flash plugin. The iPhone 4S will continue to not have this, while the Nexus, the Galaxy Nexus, will get it sometime, hopefully soon, when Adobe finally optimizes the plugin for use with the Ice Cream Sandwich platform. Naturally, the bigger screen of the Galaxy Nexus makes browsing a bit more comfortable experiences, the more suitable handset, whereas the 3.5-inch display of the iPhone 4S, still delivers a very good experience, but it's not as good as on the Nexus, and even with the slightly higher pixel density on the iPhone 4S, even this very small text here is more legible, slightly more legible on the Galaxy Nexus due to the bigger size. In terms of camera interface, both handsets have very simplistic approaches, although with the Galaxy Nexus there are still some basic settings that can be tweaked, like the white balance, exposure, and scene modes. In terms of photo quality, we like what we got from the iPhone 4S more, because its images had superior detail levels and exposure. The strong point of the Galaxy Nexus's photos is found with its more natural colors, although it lacks in those other departments like clarity and exposure. Indoor photos are also much better with the iPhone 4S because the ones from the Galaxy Nexus exhibit altered photo colors and more noise. We should note that the LED flashes of both devices are nearly useless. Video recording is also much better with the iPhone 4S. Both handsets record 1080p video, but the one from the Nexus is not really clear and is actually a bit choppy and jerky, whereas with the iPhone 4S the overall quality is significantly better. In terms of call quality, the Galaxy Nexus manages to provide the clearer sounding tones with its earpiece, and they're also decently loud, but on the other hand the iPhone 4S manages to emit some stronger tones, although not really clear. On the other end of the line, however, with their microphones, we found the one on the iPhone 4S to be capable of transmitting the stronger and better sounding tones. Finally, with their loudspeakers, we actually found the one on the Galaxy Nexus to be quite on the weaker side, whereas the iPhone 4S is equipped with much more capable loudspeaker. Concluding our comparison of the Galaxy Nexus and the iPhone 4S, we think that it's very obvious that both devices are created for some slightly different audiences. The Galaxy Nexus should still be considered slightly more of a phone for geeks, for people who enjoy tinkering with the software on their device, tweaking the interface, and the iPhone 4S is for the regular users. It's a strictly consumer-oriented device for people who just want something that works, that looks good, and which is reliable. In terms of speed, both handsets are very fast. The difference is really negligible, although the interface on the iPhone 4S seems to be slightly more fluid, but there really isn't that much of a difference. Obviously, there isn't an overall better device between the Galaxy Nexus and the iPhone 4S, so we can break down things like this. If you can't stand giant devices like the Nexus here with its great 4.65-inch display, you'll be better off with the more compact iPhone 4S. On the other hand, if you require a screen which is as big as possible, then the Galaxy Nexus will be better for you. Design is really a subjective thing, but we do think that the iPhone 4S is the better constructed device out of the two. Additionally, if the camera is very important to you, then you'll be better off with the iPhone 4S, which has the better camera, and the same goes for video recording as well. If you really like playing with your phone's software and tweaks various aspects of it, you find that the open approach of the Android operating system on the Galaxy Nexus is much better for you, whereas with the iPhone 4S you won't get this kind of freedom. However, this also translates into reliability. Not that the Nexus is unreliable, quite the opposite, but we've come to believe that with the iPhone 4S you can actually trust it a little bit more. This was a video comparison between the Galaxy Nexus and the iPhone 4S. For more details, you can always check us out and learn more at PhoneArena.com.